Welcome to HD Nation, your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
We got a lot of great stuff lined up for you. Today's show, we got a tease for something coming next week. New cable card tuner from Ceton.
You know it. Here we go. Brand new, just out of the box, the InfiniTV 6. This is a step up from the InfiniTV 4, which incorporated a 4-tuning system using one multi-stream cable card. This ups it to being able to basically support 6 tuners with that same one multi-stream cable card.
That's two more.
Two more. Two more.
It goes to 6.
If you got a big household and you're looking for a way to tune all the stations at once, this might be the way to do it. Windows 7, Windows 8 compatible. I'll be dropping this in my home theater PC at home, basically swapping it out for the 4-tuner model I have, and give it a little run through.
It looks a little kind of cleaner and more svelte, like they reduced the chip count and the thickness.
Totally. My original 4-tuner card actually seems like it's a pair of cards sandwiched together. Pretty brutal. This actually is just a svelte, nice, efficient-looking design. It looks like they've really cleaned it up quite a bit. And like I said, a single card to provide basically six tuners worth of goodness for your recording needs. So I'm excited about it. Yes, it's a cable card product, but you know what? If you're looking to do your own DVR and collect all the video you can online, this is a great way to do it. And I've been using these cards for years now. It feels like years anyway. So.
Oh my goodness. William from Shropshire in the UK says, hi all, interesting to see Patrick and Robert talking about cable clutter on this week's HD Nation. I've tried to get rid of my mess of cables, but always fail miserably. My stuff looks reasonably tidy from the front.
Not bad.
But around the back, it's a nightmare.
I've seen that before.
Also, I was asking about video frame rates on Twitter a few weeks ago. I'm in the UK where TV is at 25 frames per second, but also watch US material at 30 frames per second, and of course film content on Blu-ray, which is generally 24 frames per second. I've always thought that outputting to my TV or projector at the correct frame rate for the content was preferable to avoid jitter resulting from the frames having to be added or subtracted. The problem is that the specs for most set-top boxes talk about resolution, but don't seem to mention frame rates. I use a WDTV Live for most of my viewing because it can output at the content's native frame rate and so far handles everything I throw at it. What are your thoughts? Finally, I always wondered who does the Texzilla scream in the opening titles. Veronica, keep up the good work. William in Shropshire, UK. Number 1, no idea who does the Texzilla scream. Predates Veronica's involvement in the show by a long time. We don't know. Probably the person who wrote the opening theme.
Somebody knows.
Somebody knows.
We'll find out.
No, we won't.
No?
The person who would know.
It's a dark secret.
Well, we might be. I'm not making any promises. We'll see what we can do. Frame rate, what you're asking comes down to, do I let the player send out my TV's native frame rate, or do I let the HDTV convert whatever I send to it? Depends on the HDTV and the quality of its converting, but more often than not, send it to the TV in whatever its native form is and let the TV deal with it. Would you agree, sir?
I would, and the newest TVs I'm seeing also support, especially in the UK, support a variety of different frame rates in terms of, is it a 24p video off of a Blu-ray, is it 25 hertz? Are you dealing with something that is being up-converted to 100 hertz or 200 hertz, rather than say the 120 or 240 we're used to here on this side of the pond? The TVs are doing an exceptional job of managing that conversion, and as long as you're providing it with a source device that can get it to the TV in one of the formats supported, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you can kind of think about it. When HDTV manufacturers are designing an HDTV, they're thinking internationally. They don't want to deal with any localizing if they can avoid it. Power supplies support 120 and 220. They support 50 and 60 hertz. If your TV does a weak job, try letting your set-top box or Blu-ray player convert it to your TV's native resolution, or buy a sophisticated external converter a la Rob's DVDO box.
Totally.
And
totally
that
an
can
option.
Create all sorts of cool opportunities. Now, cable mess. It's about setting aside a glorious afternoon. If you're not sober like me, bring beer and slowly pick your way through it. First of all, rearrange your gear to minimize cable lengths and make sure your amp, your AVR is on the top of the stack and has air clearance. Heat from an AVR will kill lesser consumer electronics like routers. Ask me how I know. Measure the distance between it. Order short cables. Monoprice is an excellent source. I'm not sure if they're available in the UK. There's probably a regional variant on that. And if you don't want to replace your collection of HDMI cables, zip ties, or better yet, Velcro ties. Here in the US, you go to a local hardware store, there's piles of zip ties. There's a whole rack of Velcro cable wraps. Awesome.
I love Velcro ties. It's
Yeah.
so simple, and it's just a great way to organize that mess behind the wall. Also, I've just simply gotten used to learning a couple of specific knots and to be able to wrap the cables and then tie them nice and neat, so that even if you run out of cable ties or your beloved Velcro straps, you have a backup plan. At least you can shorten up the longer cable lengths on some of your products, especially if you're dealing with like wall wart electronics that tend to have really long cables that you don't need, 5, 6, 7 feet of wire when it's only going maybe a foot or two.
Right. Oh, and by the way, if you have a cabinet that's not very deep or a shelf that's not very deep, 90-degree swivel adapters, 90-degree adapters or swivel adapters can totally save the HDMI ports on your gear. Because if you have a big old thick cable coming out of the back of your, say, Blu-ray player, and somebody jams your Blu-ray player against the wall, it bends the cable, it'll eventually snap the HDMI port right off the PC board. I've seen that at the PC board, the motherboard, the printed circuit board. I've actually
what's in there.
Somebody's like, why doesn't it work anymore? I'm like, because you Conan this thing into your cabinet so hard, you ripped the HDMI port, basically destroyed the HDMI port, destroyed the usability of the machine, unless you can solder it back on.
Having one fewer ports might mean the make or break difference in your happiness with your electronic setup. So protect your stuff.
Oh my goodness. Good questions, though. Thanks for sending those in. You got a question for us, HDNation at revision3.com or tweet at HDNation. Strange and wondrous news this morning. I'm going to see if I can pull it up here. There it is. TiVo! In a bid to stay relevant in the super competitive digital set-top box market, TiVo has launched the Brace Yourselves Roamio DVR line. I can't wrap my head around that name. TechCrunch says TiVo is unveiling a whole new family of DVRs today with more tuners, more storage, and soon the ability to stream live and download pre-recorded video to mobile devices outside of the home. So it's a set-top, it's a TiVo, it's a set-top box, it's a sling box.
In some cases.
Right. The Roamio sells for $200 plus service, can record up to 4 shows simultaneously for up to 75 hours of content, and sports a faster user interface, plus built-in Wi-Fi, works with the TiVo app. Mocha support requires an adapter, and streaming capabilities requires TiVo Stream service. I sense monthly costs piling on here. I could be wrong.
A couple.
Roamio Plus will sell for $400 plus service. Will record 6 shows at a time, up to 150 hours of HD content on a 1 terabyte drive. Wi-Fi, built-in streaming, iOS devices, built-in Mocha. For $600, the Roamio Pro will record 450 hours on 3 terabytes. A glorious 3 terabytes of storage.
That'll keep a large-sized family happy.
Oh my goodness! Mr. Patel over at The Verge basically calls this TiVo Roamio Pro review. This is the ultimate cable box, but oh, the price.
I'd also say too, for these DVRs, if you think 6 tuners is too many, if you're in a household of any number of people and there are only 2 tuners on that DVR, how often are you sitting there at night going, oh, I am forced to watch whatever's on right now because both tuners are active and I can't even change the channel, let alone watch something that's previously recorded. That can be annoying, and that's where having multiple tuners, like 3, 4, 5, 6, in the case of the new TiVo box, that becomes a really effective, at least to me, that's what speaks to me in terms of wanting a device like that, or having why you would want multiple tuners in a DVR nowadays.
It's pretty awesome. I will say this, if you are still running cable, this would be an awesome alternative to your cable box, your horrible, horrible interface on those cable set-top
I'm really
boxes.
curious to see how their stream to mobile device services are working too. What's the quality like? What's the performance like? Is that something you're also being charged a monthly fee for? I don't think so, at least on the upper tier devices. It sounds like that's incorporated, but either way, that's something we'd love to get tested and find out personally if it really works the way we think it does. And we mentioned last week that Samsung had joined LG in selling curved OLED televisions. Besides the picture quality improvements that OLED brings, including epic contrast and super saturated colors, these high-end TVs will also feature a few new tricks. My big favorite will be with Samsung's new KN55 S9C, their 55-inch OLED television. It has a feature called Multiview that I cannot wait to actually test out. Multiview takes the core 3D technologies and repurposes them in a very cool way. Now, instead of using the TV's 3D tech to provide the same 3D image to everyone in the room, Multiview will provide 2 distinct 2D views complete with separate audio to 2 people in the room. Or multiple, I guess, if you're having them all synced up to the same view. This could be a boon for not only domestic tranquility, but also gamers on supported titles will find this goes far beyond having simple split screen. This is giving you full 1080p to each eye for both viewers, and that's something that's pretty cool. And one thing we didn't know last week, the OLED panel used in the LG 55EA 9800 TV differs from Samsung's panel design in that it uses a white-colored OLED material that is color-filtered like today's LED TVs. Now, this may make it less expensive to manufacture, but that's really to be decided down the road once these are out and about in the market where we can actually get our hands on them in quantity.
At this point, you're looking at like $9,000 for the Samsung and like $15,000 to $20-something thousand for the LG models. I have yet to see one of these on display in a store. Maybe time for a trip to Magnolia to see if they have any of these set up.
Might be. I think there's one nearby. We might be able to.
And our friend Leo has pre-ordered one of the Samsungs. He says if you'll calibrate it for him, he'll let us test it and use it on the show.
Oh, heck yeah. Let's get busy with that. I have the software.
Goodness.
I have the tools. We can do this.
Joe Paulin tweets, have either of you tried out a Buttkicker? I picked up one a while back. It's pretty amazing. It's worth checking out. For those of you staring at the screen thinking, WTF, people, we're talking about the Buttkicker. Well, the guitar, Githammer's Buttkicker. I have had trouble saying that name for a freaking decade now. In any case,
it's the Buttkicker.
Yeah, the Buttkicker is a brand name for a low-frequency transducer, aka the Buttkicker LFE, which adds low-frequency effects to your home theater experience, or music experience, or gaming experience. Case in point, I got to see a rocket take off from Cape Canaveral. Watching the rocket, freaking flames. It's a rocket, giant black plumes of smoke. Amazing, but feeling the rocket engine noise thudding in the middle of my chest, vibrating my spleen from 3 miles away, that left an impression. Standing 50 yards from a 25-foot wave crashing down on a beach, a few feet from a race engine or a subway car, explosions, a 44 mag being shot, they all drop big, low bass frequencies that you feel in your body as much as you hear them with your ears. That's low frequency. The BT LFE, the Buttkicker LFE, is aiming to reproduce those intense, awesome 5 to 200 hertz frequencies by shaking your couch or chair. Right, so if we take a look at this thing right here, that thing with the fins is a 3.75 pound piston wrapped around another like 6 or 7 pounds of enclosure. You bolt it to your couch or your chair so you can feel bass without waking up the entire neighborhood. Cool? Yeah. Not cheap for a full install. If you want to get their amplifier and the Buttkicker and the install kit, you're looking at like $600 off of Amazon. This thing sucks power like you wouldn't believe. The basic device, that right there, they want 400 to like 1,500 watts pumping through that thing.
Perfect.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect.
If you want to do something a little more tame, they've got like a $140 one designed to clamp onto desk chairs for gamers, and some models that are a little less luxe than the LFE, a little less, well, heavy and out of control are in the $400 range. If you already have a power amp, you can pick up the LFE, the Buttkicker LFE transducer for $235. Note, follow the directions so this thing doesn't tear itself loose, and consider buying their rubber feet, the little kinetic isolators right off the bat to make sure your couch is decoupled from the floor. Otherwise, you ever been in a house like for example, my house, when the washing machine is running, you feel it at the other end of the building? That is what everyone in your house will feel as the machine guns are going off or the bombs are exploding, right? They're just gonna, the soundtrack's gonna thunder, the orcs are gonna attack, and you're gonna freak out everybody in the neighborhood because they'll think it's an earthquake.
Kaboom.
So, yeah, cool, absolutely. Not cheap. Some people feel there's a bit of a delay. I haven't noticed it as much, but I haven't lived with one for an extended period of time. Most people who've bought one absolutely love them.
Totally. And there are also higher end products too that you can get for home theater environments, like stuff from D-Box in particular that I'm thinking of, where that's actually integrated into furniture you buy, but we're talking the cost goes way up.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and the technology is actually a little bit different. They're using for Buttkicker actually a feed from your subwoofer output on the AVR, whereas with something like D-Box's technology, they're actually doing, basically they're curating each movie, and then they provide you a data file that then reproduces the effects they want to in 3D space in real time. Yes, we're talking a lot more money. But
that is expensive. This is also one of those areas where the more you spend, the better things get, because if you've sat in one of those cheap-ass gamer chairs and thought like, this sucks, well, they do suck. One of these, way different experience, because you're 4 pounds, 3.75 pounds. That's a lot of weight to swing attached to your couch.
Totally. I've only had the opportunity in a restaurant of all places to experience a Buttkicker system, and it was in the seating for this particular place we're dining at. And to this day, I still remember that dining experience very well.
The exploding pasta.
Bless the Buttkicker.
So weird. From developer Kushik.'s Google Plus page, AirCast. Play any videos on your Chromecast. This is so cool. He writes, I spent a couple hours yesterday reverse engineering the Chromecast protocols. Great success. I am now able to get around all the developer whitelist restrictions. I'm actually not using the Chromecast or Media Router SDKs at all anymore. That resulted in AirCast, an Android app that lets you share videos from your gallery, Dropbox, or Drive straight to your Chromecast-enabled TV. Is it easy? Does it work?
It's easy as can be. Now, I've reset everything up, and there's a little bit of stuttering here, but
Did it stutter at home?
No, actually it worked really well. For the videos I actually shot with my phone, they worked perfectly. I had an encoded video in 720p I was trying to stream. That didn't work for some reason. It just wouldn't play back, and I'm not sure if it was a file size restriction or what, but just to be able to take files off my Dropbox folder, files off of my gallery player, and just dump them right to the TV through the Chromecast, it was pretty good, although in this case, smoothness could be a little bit better.
We should also point out in our studio, along with like 15,000 watts of lamps, you have 2 radios attached to you in the form of your microphone and IFB. I have 2 radios attached to me. Plus, we have a totem over there with like 35 freaking wireless RF-based boxes on it. So.
And it's beta 2 software, but still, I like the fact that it's still going. And you know what? This beta came out yesterday, so hopefully by the time you guys see this, it'll still be available if you want to test it out yourself. All I had to do was download the APK file, install it like any other app, and boom, it was working just fine with my Chromecast. And I'd say that between the AirCast software and the recent Chromecast update, this really helped some reconnection issues I was having with my own Chromecast device, and I'm really thinking the future of Wi-Fi HDMI devices is looking pretty good, especially when you add that little bit of intelligence to them and to get them to be able to, play back the software you want, in the environment you want, with the content you want.
Anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want. Just make it easy. Make it easy.
Jose, aka at the Great Joser, tweets at HD Nation with the new HDMI spec on the way. Is there any bottlenecks that are going to happen with the current new gaming consoles like the Xbox One, etc.? Depends on whether you want 60 Hz 4K support, literally. If you don't care about 60 Hz 4K, and frankly, the installed base of 4K HDTVs is so tiny, Sony and Microsoft do not care about them, then the HDMI ports in the Xbox One and the PS4, good to go for anything you're going to do. Blu-ray playback, 3D. Do they support the? I don't think they do Ethernet over HDMI.
I don't think you're even going to have to worry about that either.
Okay.
They're going to have Wi-Fi built into these devices.
Right.
They're going to have network jacks on them. Do you need audio return channel to an AVR? Probably not. I can't see a reason to actually incorporate that. But it's really the frame rate issue. Are you going to be able to push 4K at 24p or 30p like we currently can, or are they going to wait for the next gen standard, which HDMI 2, it's been talked about. It's supposed to be out like now. And it's not out yet. So when will that come? And the main feature being that it will basically double the frame rate for 4K video, double the bandwidth available, so you could do faster frame rates at 4K.
That's the real problem with doing 4K with the current consoles. The Xbox One or the PS4 aren't going to do 4K very well because they don't have the graphics horsepower to do really serious 3D.
Now, what might be cool though is will they support something like 120 hertz output over HDMI at 1080p, something like that. For the TVs that can support it, we've seen a few of the 4K panels out there actually support it. But, pardon me?
For Blu-ray playback?
Oh no, for gaming.
Because right now, $1,000 GPU is what you need to do 4K gaming at 30 hertz.
That's a good point.
700. You know what I mean? Like this, the horsepower, the GPU horsepower is not there.
For console gaming, though, I only imagine that they're going to be pushing 1080p 60, and then they'll upconvert that however they need to 4K. They're not going to deliver 4K gaming in most cases.
Yeah,
not with this hardware that they're showing.
Unless there's, who knows? Maybe they're working on something in the background, especially Sony. I am not holding my breath. No. Quaylid tweets, hey HD Nation, is it okay to watch my Blu-rays using my Samsung LED with game mode on since it is a clean digital video source? PQ seems richer.
Yeah. You know what? A TV's game mode, if it offers one, it's a picture mode that minimizes the TV's video processing to speed up the time it takes for the video source that's feeding into the display to actually reach our eyeballs. Now, with very clean sources of video like video games that feature crisp, noise-free imagery, they often look great when viewed with the TV's game mode enabled. Now, when game mode's enabled, video processing features like noise reduction, motion interpolation, and various flavors of signal filtering are reduced or disabled. Now, for some video sources, like quality Blu-ray transfers, game mode's reduced processing can be visually pleasing, like you noted. Now, for some broadcast TV content, that additional processing can reduce undesirable artifacts like flicker in the screen or edge artifacts that you might not otherwise notice when the video processing is actually functioning. So in those cases, yeah, try it, see if you like it, but if you're having any problems at all, or the picture's uncontrollable, or it jumps you out of a nice calibrated mode into this super bright mode, game mode might not be the answer for you. And just stick with a standard, movie or cinema preset, or standard if it's bright time, daytime viewing.
It's basically A/B test versus cinema mode or your calibrated mode, see if you like it.
Yeah, but that's a good test though for your source device. If you think your source is clean, look at it in game mode. And if it still looks pretty good, you know you've got a pretty clean source of video to deal with. Because I notice even more so with plasma displays, where if you turn on game mode, if the video is in any way compromised or noisy or altered, it's really going to get magnified because it's really doing nothing to help it. And that's the whole point, because you want to speed up that, you want to minimize that delay between the video going into the set and it appearing on the screen so that you have good response in terms of your ability to respond to the on-screen action.
You don't want every individual pixel polished and buffed to its highest level of quality?
Always, except for when time is of the essence.
I can't shoot anybody because my screen's late.
What?
And that's it for this episode of HD Nation. Join us, revision3.com/HDNation. You can watch the show, you can subscribe to the show, you can talk about the show, you can leave a comment on the show. Tell us what you think. HDNation@revision3.com.
That's it. Please, and post any comments, questions, or suggestions right down below. And until next time, thank you so much for watching.